Hey folks, this is Brian with part 2 of my Elderath Session 17 review. That first one did get pretty long, and there's still more to go, right? But I had to stop recording because my son was coming in and out of the house and doing stuff, and I don't have a pause function with my built-in Windows camera recording function. So anyway, let us continue, shall we? As Wes describes the cauldron and the priest hanging above it with blood dropping into it, he gets very concerned and he steps out and calls to a guard who runs off. He comes back and says, "There's no time to lose. Come with me. I thought all of those artifacts were destroyed." And he grabs his sword and cuts out of the pavilion. We follow and trace. I did forget to mention that Raymond, once Sir Michael started eating, also sat down and started to snarf food down. So, lots going on. Sir Michael gets on his horse. People everywhere, people getting ready, armor coming up. And a wizard in black robes shows up. And this is Master Xavier. Wes recognizes him. He's the master of the College of Fire at the School of Wizardry in Telgar. Excuse me. And Sir Michael says, "We must go to Hamlet." At that, Wes puts his hand on his leg and says, "You cannot trust Burns." Sir Michael looks down at Wes. Sir Xavier says, "Go, I'll deal with this." And Sir Michael then rides off. All our guys get together. They're planning to take breaking camp what they can, or just the emergency folks that travel that you need kind of thing, because it's about 6 hours away to get to Hamlet from here on horseback, forced march kind of thing. But then Xavier asks Wes, what is this all about? And so Wes tells him about I believe he went into the whole deal that they saw Burns at the tower after he returned from Telgar, and there was something wrong. Doppelganger, possessed, former lieutenant pretending to be, all these things had gone through Wes's mind before. The whole deal with the coins, the fact that that's not normal, and the coins were ensorcelled with tracking magic. And then Wes also let Xavier know that the Grey Wizard down at the ford, he had told her all of that as well, and she teleported to Telgar. So we're at this point given three choices. We can either try and be with the vanguard and keep up with everybody, or we can come with the baggage and the wagons, or we could just stay here. Everybody wants to get to Hamlet, except for Wes. He wouldn't mind just staying here. But I said, okay, let's do it full bore. Let's all go with the vanguard. Now, only 3 of us know how to, or have any riding skill. Wes, Raymond, and Alexander. And so everybody doubles up. Tindo's with Wes, and they take off when everybody takes off with the vanguard. We do have to make a riding roll to keep up, and Alexander missed his roll, so he fell back. But the rest of us arrive in Hamlet at nightfall with Sir Michael and his paladins. So this is a humongous, impressive sight. All these armored horses coming in. As soon as he hits the town perimeter area, whatever, Sir Michael blows the horn for the call to arms. People are coming out of the house. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Sir Michael rounds the intersection there by the inn and is heading towards the tower. And if you look at the light plate, which is in the description, there's a map of Hamlet there. There's a hedgerow with a tree that's just east or west, just west of the tower. And when Sir Michael hits that spot, fire comes flaming down from the top of the tower to engulf Sir Michael. Sir Michael draws his sword, and a white brilliance sphere surrounds him, protection kind of thing. The fire kind of circles all around it. At this point, the army splits into 3 sections. One with Sir Michael going to the tower. Wes is with that one. Raymond is sticking with a group that are staying here at this area. They're setting up a perimeter and getting archers out. And as they're doing that, though, he runs across the street because there's a building across the street that's on fire. And, make sure everybody's out of it, and he starts doing first aid for folks. And a third group goes to the pasture to the north. Alexander, when he gets here, goes with that group. Hooks up the mounted auxiliaries there. Wes and Tindo following Sir Michael, Wes is trying to stay with Sir Michael as best he can. He says all these paladins and other knights and stuff, so he does what he can. I did forget to mention that Xavier raised his staff, and clouds started to form and swirl around the tower top. Above the tower. Okay, so we've got everybody's dismounting, running up the stairs. We're trying to stay as close to Sir Michael as we can. The drawbridge is up. Xavier burns down the chains holding the drawbridge, so the drawbridge falls. We then can get to the drawbridge after the door's closed there, and so Burns trying to burn that door down, but there is some magical defenses, but he burns through those magical defenses and burns the door down. That Sir Michael bursts through into the area, into the tower, right? About that time, other folks outside the tower see a flying carpet come off the top of the tower and start shouting, "He's getting away! He's getting away!" Xavier fires a fireball at it and hits it. People start shooting arrows. Runt, I think it is. Maybe Albus. I think it's Runt. It's got the dagger throwing stuff. It's throwing stuff. Somebody else is throwing javelins. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. But it is getting away. Sir Michael comes running out with a bunch of his knights. Wes and Tindo, back up against the wall, let everybody out, don't get in the way. But Wes is going to investigate the rest of his tower. There's probably some of the guards who stayed as well. And we find the guard towers, who aren't the normal tower guards. In fact, they have this weird northern accent. But they don't really put up a fight. There's no fighting going on in the tower. Raymond runs over to the gypsy camp and tells them there's an undead army coming. They need to get out of town. So they start loading up their wagons and heading east out of town. There's an area by the church they're setting up like a refugee camp for everybody. There's at this point, a bunch of focus on getting villagers out of the village. Someone appears on the bluff in front of the tower. Sir Michael goes to investigate. Wes goes with him, trying to be not bodyguard, but squire kind of thing. And as soon as he gets close, the figure turns and it's female, and Sir Michael drops to his knee. Wes follows suit. Player Brian is thinking, "Oh crap, this is probably Tamara, right?" And sure enough, it actually is Tamara. She calls to Wes, says, "Well, cousin, it seems you've really stepped in it this time. You saw a cauldron?" And he explains, I did not see it. One of my friends had seen the cauldron and had described it to us. A figure, one of the priest's retainers hanging above it, dripping blood into it, that kind of thing. And she says, "We cannot allow a cauldron to remain." And Sir Michael says, "As you wish, my lady." So Sir Michael's setting up a group to go into the swamp to get the cauldron. He asks us, "Okay, give me directions." And exactly where this dome is. And so we tell him as best we can. I say, "Hey, our tracker guys can probably give us some better directions." And at one point, he eventually says, if you need us to guide you, we can do that. Lady Tamara says, they'll be here in 2 hours. You have an hour to clear the village. I will stay here. So we go off to help with things. We're given some options of what we could do. Wes Wes has got 2 options that he wants to do. One is, if there's going to be a mounted cavalry charge, he wants to be involved with that. He's got his armor here. He can armor up. He's got his horse. He's got lances. He can do that kind of thing. So he wants to do that because trampling over skeletons feels good. If that's because he's asking, is this kind of being planned? And if not, then he wants to get on the far bluff, although it would be better to stay in the tower, the far bluff, to be able to cast magics down. He's got a 100-foot range kind of thing, so he's got some decent range with most of his magic. But then Raymond kind of says, we could stay back as some kind of reinforcing special group. So when we see the lines faltering somewhere, we can go in and reinforce that area as a party. And so Wes kind of acquiesces to that. Alexander, though, is still down in the middle with his horse, with the horse he has, and being mounted with the auxiliaries, is planning on doing some action. Okay, so we're up in the tower. Lady Tamara's up there. The skeleton army's attack, coming down the road, chomp, 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 chomp. Most of them down on the road, some on either side kind of thing. The forces to the north in the field circle through, pushing skeletons towards the road. A group of mounted paladins on the road charge. As they're doing that, lightning comes striking down at them. Yes, indeed, the guy in the flying carpet has returned. He's firing lightning bolts down. Sir Michael is able, with his magic and his sword, probably able to deflect most of that lightning damage coming down. Tamara then is on top of the tower and engages the rider with this beam of light that comes out of this orb circling around her head. I'm pretty sure it's an IOUN stone, or as we like to call it, just an ion stone. But, the characters don't know anything about that. But the figure on the carpet just laughs. There's this howling sound that comes off, like a cackling laugh. And Tamara says, "It's a taken. It's one of the taken." And then she turns to Xavier and says, "Defensive magics now!" And so they're both casting magics on the Howler, the guy on the carpet. And that's enough to keep the Howler distracted so he can't reinforce the skeletons on the ground. And so the skeletons on the ground, Sir Michael and his guys are then able to engage the Griffin and the Rider and defeat the skeletons. As they kill skeletons, the Griffin and the Rider, their green glow got brighter and brighter and brighter. They were gaining strength as the other skeletons were killed. But they were able to take out the Griffin and the Rider. Dawn starts to come, and the Howler withdraws. Tamara and Xavier then turn command back over to Michael, telling him they need to sanctify the top of the tower, and then they depart. Oh, we did notice on the way up that there's all kinds of eye-type graffiti all over the place up here. Things are settled down. We do meet with the Druid. He and the bear did come out for the fight. And so we meet with the Druid because I ask him, hey, nobody's found Rufus. Rufus is not in the tower. And so we get with the Druid, because I asked the Druid before we left to keep an eye on Burns and Rufus, see what's going, to kind of balance out what's going on. And the Druid is concerned and thinks that maybe Rufus has been taken to the cauldron by the Howler. And Sir Michael tells us that the skeletons that were raised came from the cauldron. They're called cauldron-born. Anybody who's read The Black Cauldron or even seen the cartoon knows where that came from. Forg in ancient times had crafted them at the Rift. The Rift is a place in the northern continent, desolation all around it, bad evil magics. That's where he had his stuff. He was the Lich Lord controlling that kingdom, right? And he used them to subject his kingdom. It was thought that they were all destroyed. The fact that one has appeared is very concerning. In the best case, it was one that was found by the Howler. And one of Forg's lieutenants, because he would know how to use them. Weston tells Sir Michael about the open crypt that they had found in the underkeep at the moat house. And Sir Michael talks about how, the Taken cannot be killed, they can only be imprisoned. But it was likely the Howler freed whatever was in that place. That the Howler is one of whatever was in that crypt was a lesser of the greater undead. Yay! The Howler himself was actually imprisoned by the elves and the lizard people in the mountains northeast in the northeast, that's across the isthmus in the northern continent. Now, the elves, powerful lizardmen, magic users together imprisoned him in the north, but he's obviously loose. And so he's apparently gathering things up and loosing things here as well. And that, my friends, will end session 17 of Elderath. Happy gaming.